Hey guys, Darnik here from TG, and welcome back to my heavily opinionated Warframe tier list. Quick disclaimer: I am a Frostbane. I'm also. This is very opinionated. This is mine. This is not official, but it's how I see the Warframes as they are, and I've been playing Warframe for 3 years, so I kind of know what I'm talking about. So let's just get this started because this is going to be a long video. Let's get started. Last week or whatever, I went over the first two tiers. The Hydroid tier, which is the worst of the worst, which you can guess which Warframe's in there, and needs a rework, which I only really reviewed 6 Warframes. This tier's got a lot more, so let's get started with Ash. I have a pretty big grudge against Ash, since there's a YouTuber called Life of Rio, who hates Frost players, and, his content isn't that interesting. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. Well, the reason Ash is in good tier and not in terrible tier is because he can do stuff fairly good. His first ability can cause really good bleed procs if spammed, which, I mean, that's okay. I mean, this high levels. Now, the thing it can do is with the Seeking Shuriken, it completely strip enemies of their armor, which leaves them to attacks such as that. Second ability, worse invisibility than Loki. Loki's also in this tier, spoiler alert. Yeah, I'm running pretty much I'm running a 240% duration build, and it's only 20 seconds. Teleport, easily one of the worst abilities in the game unless you're running like a weapon with high finisher damage and his augment. Again, all of his abilities are pretty much terrible unless takes up an entire mod slot. Now, and you do a melee finisher. That's that. Fourth ability, you just select targets. Takes a lot of energy, might I mind you. I was at 300 energy, and that's all it does. I mean, join my. This is all it does. It does minimal damage for all of your energy, pretty much. Hey, look at that little bit of damage. I mean, sure, these are really high-level enemies, but I mean, my character can do more damage in less energy than this, and he's a defense Warframe. So, yeah. I mean, sure, granted that is a decent amount of damage, but let's say I just shoot with my gun. I mean, this is a rank 0 weapon. Ash is a terrible Warframe. Plus his passive, which I actually forgot what his passive is. Let me just show this off. Passive. Bleed inflicts. Oh, he has increased bleed procs, which means he's good if you're running Hunter munitions, but he's a decent Warframe. Again, I would suggest a rework by where he increases damage, but yeah, that's why he's only in good or decent tier. Next, this is the one I'm going to get a huge amount of hate for. Chroma. Now, I know all of you are saying Chroma is an amazing god tier level Warframe, but the issue is his fun. At least for me. I mean, 850 energy is a huge amount of energy, but what Chroma does is he doesn't take damage, pretty much. You cast his second and third ability, and you're pretty much invincible. If you have lifesteal, a little bit of lifesteal. The thing with this is, all the abilities do is you press them, you take damage, and you're invincible. None of his other abilities are actually useful or fun. Like, that's the reason with me, is like his abilities are so overly boring that I just can't play him, which is why I play Warframes like a Naros instead, where his abilities actually let you do something. This, you press a button, you get shot, and you don't take damage. I mean, even this, I'm running a pretty terrible build for Chroma, but I mean, 160% power strength isn't all that much. It just, I have to turn off invincibility. But yeah, he's not even that invincible. I mean, sure, Eidolon hunts, but now we have, like, Mirage is better than that. Like, look at this. I mean, sure, I can take a lot of damage. As in, like, I can, I mean, they still do too much damage to me for me to actually use this with the Naros. He's got, I have an Umbral Naros. This is an Umbral Chroma setup, might I mind you. This is an Umbral Chroma, and he's still taking a lot of damage. So, And his passive, I mean, he's got a very interesting passive where, like, you change the color of his energy to change the function of his abilities. But only 2 of them are really useful out of the 4 that you can use. So, again, make his 1st and 4th ability actually useful, and, yeah. Next Warframe on the list, again, a lot of hate for this, is Harrow. I'm actually not going to put him on this part of the list. I'm going to move him up to the Great tier off camera. Now, let's head to the next Warframe, which is, my friend's going to hate me for this, Cora. Now, the reason is that Cora's here, I mean, she's really good. Like, first you have a pet, where, like, you literally... Oh, that's Venari. Okay, you literally can set Venari to heal you for an insane amount of health for barely any energy at all. But the thing is, the moment you leave the small range of her heal, you're not getting healed anymore. And she runs around and attacks stuff. And another reason why she's on this list is her pretty terrible damage. I mean, accumulating Whip Claw does do decent damage, but it takes a while to scale. I mean, just look at basic Whip Claw. I'm running a full-on Whip Claw setup. Look at that terrible damage. And might I mind you, I'm pretty sure these paused enemies take more damage from Whip Claw than if they weren't paused. The Ensnare, it's good. It's good. I mean, it increases the damage of your Whip Claw, but if let's say I set Venari to attack, Venari's not really going to be doing much. I mean, Venari doesn't really do that much damage. So, yeah. And the 4th ability is ultimately useless if you're running a build. Another reason why she's so terrible is she's almost impossible to build, because you need all 4 stats, and which means that all your builds for her are either going to be focused on 1 or 2 of her abilities, or if I focus on all 4, it's going to be weaker. And I'm also just saying, the one thing one of the main things, this is probably going to trigger my friend too, the back of her head looks like a couch cushion. Okay, that's it for Cora. Now, let's go on to a Warframe, which is gonna, again, most of the Warframes on this list are controversial. Loki. Now, he is an amazing Warframe, and if we're just talking about invisibility alone, 34 seconds of invisibility for, like, what, 20 energy? I mean, he is a pretty insane Warframe, but his 1st and 3rd abilities are complete garbage. His passive, which I don't even know what his passive is at this point. I mean, the only thing I use him for is invisibility. So, what's his passive? Oh, he's able to hang for walls for longer. Yeah, that's useless. But the only thing good about his kit is invisibility and the augment for his 4th, which just makes enemies attack each other for a short time, which is not even that great. His 1st ability comes and decoys himself, which literally dies in 5 seconds in level 30 missions, which does not scale with level, and that, which just swaps you with an enemy, which does no damage, and confuses the enemy for a half a second. And his 4th ability, I mean, sure, it just arms enemies. It makes it so they don't have gun. They don't have gun anymore, but they have knife, which does, granted, more damage, and unless you're running the augment, it's useless. So that's the reason Loki is only on good or decent tier, because all of his abilities except for his, well, I will say, his 2nd ability is one of the most amazing abilities in the entire game. That is one of the reasons he's down here, is because nothing else about him is really good, and all this does is make you invisible. Nothing else. So, that's that. Next Warframe on the list is, again, a controversial Warframe, but for a few specific reasons. Mag. Now, I need to find Mag first. There she is. She's actually a very, very good Warframe. Let me put on, Tigress Prime for her. She's actually a very good Warframe, but her survivability is garbage. Which means that, I mean, even my favorite character, which is on God tier, Frost, he has decent survivability, but the moment you leave your bubble shield, you're dead. Now, this is good crowd control. I mean, all these enemies are now over here, which means I can cast my second. Which means I can cast my third. Which means I can pump some shots in there and do a literally insane amount of damage. Look at this, just wait for it. Now, Maggie is good, but she could be better. I'm actually... Like, I mean, just look at this. Tick damage, and then a giant explosion. I mean... What else can you ask for? But, one of the main reason Mag's here is because, one, her passive is fairly useless. Well, she's got a decent passive, but her abilities leave some to be desired. You have to be using the right gear to get the most out of them. And her survivability is kind of meh. I mean, sure, she's got access to infinite shields, but at what cost? I mean, casting her 4 takes a lot of energy, and shields are fairly useless in this game. Sure, she can be used to clear maps on low levels, and sure, she can strip the armor of enemies. I don't even think I can strip any more armor than I'm already stripping. Sure, she can be used to draw enemies in, but, I mean, it's just kind of average performance. And Warframe and God Tier have above average performance. So, that's her issues. Hate what you will. There's 4 tiers, which needs a rework. Good, great, and God. Move her up to great if you want. I mean, she's good. She deserves to be in great, but the only reason she's not is because of her survivability. Next Warframe on the list is a Warframe that just recently got a rework, but it's still terrible. Vauban. Now, I will say they did change a little bit about him, but I don't have any forma in him because I don't play him. But the thing with Vauban is he's still mediocre at best. His abilities are still crowd control oriented, so they don't really do much damage. And he doesn't have any survivability abilities. I mean, sure, he can stun enemies with some balls. But that's all they do, is they just stun enemies. I mean, when they're stunned, they can't damage you. But still, I mean, if they're in a Bastille, they can't damage you, but enemies outside the Bastille can. And sure, kill an enemy, then they just go back into the Bastille. I mean, his passive is really good. You deal more damage to incapacitated target. Bastille also strips enemies of their armor, which is very, very nice. I mean, but Vauban has no survivability. Now, let's say I just do this. I mean, it does decent damage again, but I'm looking for above average performance. Now, his second ability, still useless. I mean, the rework, they did some good things with his rework, I will say, but, okay, what he has this thing, which does this. It takes 2 enemies. Of course, my vortex isn't going to let me do that, but they did buff his little turret, so it does, like, a lot of crit. You throw out a bunch of them and they do a decent amount of damage, but, that's what guns are for. And, I mean, sure, he's got one of the most basic damage boost. Oh, that's a speed boost. This can be used to troll people in missions. No. And this is just a basic damage boost. 33% with my build, which is garbage. Second ability, it literally barely does any damage. I mean, the best it's gonna do... Oh yeah, I also knocked myself in the leg. Is, okay, look at this guy. His health barely went down at all. So, yeah, let me Red Tesla Nervous and throw them off the edge so they don't bother me anymore. Yeah, and his fourth ability, I mean, his fourth ability is really good, but the main problem with him is no survivability. So that's why he's only indecent. And they could have done his second ability so much better by just turning it into an exotic grenade launcher. I mean, seriously. I even had this idea on YouTube. So just... His augments are good, though. Next Warframe on the list is Nova, which... I'm gonna get hate for this, again. A lot of these are Warframes I don't really play. Now, the reason Nova's on here is... sure, she can slow enemies. Sure, she can give herself damage reduction. But you have to recast... You have to basically have an augment to recast your damage reduction. It's your damage reduction right there. And I mean, sure, it is a really high damage reduction, but she's still incredibly squishy. Pardon my use of words, because that's kind of an inappropriate word. But still, I mean... sure, she can buff your damage, which is nice. Something that my favorite character can't do. But still average. I mean, her second ability is decent. Well, no, actually, I'm thinking of the wrong ability. This actually is very good. Let's look at this health of this enemy. Barely any damage, but against, like, low-level enemies, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. I mean, that's pretty good. Third ability literally just transports you a little bit. I mean, if you build it for max range, it's used for really good transportation, but... Again, if you want to build her, you're going to have to sacrifice a bunch of other stuff. And her damage reduction slowly goes away over time if you're anywhere in your enemies. And I'm a person who likes using melee. Of all the kills I have in this game, 90% of them are from melee. I have 140,000 kills with this weapon alone. So, I just can't really use her. Her passive, I don't even know what her passive is. It's that insignificant. Plus, I don't really use her. Her passive is, when knocked over, you emit a defensive burst that does 250 damage. Those enemies over there have 50 million effective health. 250 is absolutely nothing when it comes to taking those little turds down. So, yeah, that's that for Nova. She's okay, but she could be better. Next is a Warframe called Revenant, where he's really good. He's really, really good. But again, I just cannot in good mind put him up on the tier. His passive, shield depletion, deals 100 damage. Useless. Absolutely useless. Again, useless passive means lower on the list, which depends on the Warframe. First ability, turns enemies into thralls which fight each other permanently until they die, which is, well, no, has a duration, never mind. You can only have a maximum amount of thralls that cannot be increased, and I'm pretty sure it's capped at like 8 or something. I'm pretty sure, no, it's capped at 7. Capped at 7, and you cannot increase it. And your teammates can kill your thralls, which makes it so it's really hard to actually keep thralls, which it's pretty useless. Second ability is just as good in low levels as it is in high levels. Don't believe me? Let me show you. Let me show you. It is literally just as effective in low levels as it is in high levels. They're firing me. See, it took off one of my Mesmer skin charges. Why are there... Okay, they're paused. I need to respawn them. That's strange. I just respawn them. And Mesmer skin's good. But it's just as good at low levels as it is high levels. So let's recast it. No matter what, enemy shoots me one time, they're gonna take off a charge. So it's as useful at level 1 as it is at level 140. His third ability is pretty good. I mean, it leaves something to be desired. I mean, it is one thing I like to have in characters, which is a on-demand heal. So I don't really have a self-damage weapon, but like it's basically you push yourself through enemies, you get health. I mean, health and shield. I mean, what else can you ask for? It's actually pretty good. It actually does a decent amount of damage too, because it takes away the health of the enemies. But one, it costs a lot of energy, and it's not really that good at healing. His fourth ability does a lot of damage. I mean, well, fairly decent amount of damage for the amount of energy it consumes. Again, I'm comparing this to my favorite character, which is a defense character, and I'm also charging this with even more energy by holding on the fire button, which makes it do even more damage. Granted, this is pretty good, but uses a ton of energy. So, all in all, Revenant's good, but still just mediocre, which is why he's in the tier good. He's still usable. He's still a very good Warframe that can take you through the entire game, but he could be better, and there's a bunch of other Warframes that are better than him. Now, for the two last Warframes on my list, these are probably going to get a lot of hate as well. A lot of the Warframes on this part of the list are going to get a lot of hate. One of the newer Warframes, Wisp. Now, there's a reason why I say this. Her buffs can be harming to other people. Now, what I'm saying is, her first ability cannot be harmful to no matter, well, it can only be harmful to Necros, but that's it. Gives you heal over time and a boost to your health. I mean, perfect. I mean, it's a really good ability. Now, let's say I put down one of these. The problem with haste is it makes your weapons fire faster. It means ammo economy is out in the garbage. If you're running a fully automatic weapon, not really going to be doing very good damage. So, that's the problem with that. Now, her third mote is actually pretty good. Shock Reservoir. It stuns all enemies, which means that they're not going to be damaging you too much. Which is good. I like the Shock Reservoir, even though most people find it useless. Her passive, oh yeah, her passive is you're invisible when you're airborne. Yeah, when are you ever going to be airborne that much of the time? So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Second ability, fairly useless. You just send out a clone of yourself, which you can teleport to. It's fairly useless, could be replaced by anything really easily. I mean, it does work with your third ability, which blinds things, which makes you do a literal ton of damage with your weapons. I mean, just look at this. I mean, sure they're paused, so I'm doing more damage than I probably should be, but whatever. Yeah, that's that. And her fourth ability, one of the lower damage ultimates in the game. I mean, sure, look at all those damage numbers. Sure, it's doing decent damage after attacking the enemy for a while, and with all three motes, it's still doing pretty good. But look at all the energy it's draining. I mean, sure, she's got a lot of energy, but it's draining it so fast that, like... And I was charging it, by the way, which means I'm taking double the energy, so... Yeah. She's okay. Her second and first and her second ability needs to be replaced, obviously, but her third ability, it's good. It blinds enemies. It lasts for 24 seconds. It's basically just a radial blind. It's basically just a radial blind. I mean, sure, it's decent, and it's a radial blind. It's gonna be okay, but I mean, it's not as powerful as radial blind in the first place. So it's just a worse version of Excalibur, which is in a very high tier. He's in the top tier. Her first ability is one of the best abilities in the game because it is one of the only abilities that lasts forever. And her fourth ability has decent damage if you have all three motes on you at once, which haste mote is really bad if you have a weapon that has like bad ammo efficiency. So yeah, Wisp is good, but could be better. And for the final Warframe from this list, the other Warframe who is reworked, you're seeing a trend here, Ember. Now, they did fix a lot of her issues, but they completely contradicted themselves. The reason they changed her was just because she was so good at killing star chart enemies. Well, I'll let you know. She actually, with this build here, which I'm just going to put that on just for show, Let me turn these enemies down to level 50. This is probably this is Mott Void level stuff. This is the highest level you're going to be seeing in the star chart itself. They completely contradicted themselves. I mean, World on Fire used to be somewhat reasonable. Look at that damage. I mean, sure, it took 2 casts, but, I mean, let's say we're talking about more reason. These are the toughest enemies you're going to see in the star chart, and it still does really good damage. Let's go to something a little bit more. I mean, this is way past the star chart. I'm going to bump these things all the way up to level 140. And they basically just buffed the thing they meant to nerf. Look at this. Trash mobs level 140. Dead. The problem with her is... The problem with her is she has... Well, they did make Fireball do a bit more damage with 8 times damage, but still useless in high levels. You see a trend going on here. And, her second ability, now, it's decent. It's decent. But it's a damage over time that slowly goes up from 50%. That might... I add you... Once it gets to 90%, which is, like, average for decent, like, it's decent and average for normal Warframe is to have, it makes you drain energy over time. A lot of it, might I mind you. Look at that energy over time I'm losing. And in order to make the energy over time go away, you have to sacrifice your energy in order to make it actually go away. Which means you're using even more energy to get rid of the drain of your energy. Plus the damage reduction doesn't even do anything for survivability. I'm going to let it go all the way up to 90% damage reduction. Like, all the way up to 90. Look at this. I think I'm even running adaptation with this build. Look at this. Look at this. I'm still getting shredded by these enemies. And they're still gonna kill me. Like, the damage reduction does absolutely nothing for her entire kit. In fact, it's just one of those abilities that you're just not gonna use at all. I mean, to be quite honest, it was better the way it was back as Accelerant. Her third ability, it's good. I mean, I think I saw it strip armor. I don't know. That probably doesn't even do that. But, I mean, it's good. It's a crowd control. But I had a rework for her that I think I posted it on YouTube that was far better than this. This mediocre rework that we got for her. Sure, they made her fourth ability much more powerful now, and they meant to make it less powerful and not do as well in low levels, but they made it better. This was a fail of a rework. Her passive's good. 5% power strength for any enemy that's on fire near you. I mean, it's good, especially if you're, like, trying to take... Especially if you're using our first ability, which is the simple caster ability, which really doesn't really do much. And the hold ability of it's pretty much entirely useless now, and just... yeah. I just don't think that this rework did very good for her, which is why she's only in good tier. Sure, she can do what she used to do better, but her damage reduction is useless, pretty much. Also, points for her being one of the most attractive female Warframes in the game, but that's that. Now, a Warframe that used to be in this tier, that I'm going to put next tier, which I'm just giving you a kind of, predating thing to the next episode, which will probably be in a few days, is this Warframe right here. Now, should be in God tier. The only problem he has is survivability. Even in this high level Plains of Eidolon, he can't survive. his survivability is so terrible. I mean, sure. He can make himself go invincible. If you have a max duration build, you can go invincible for 20 seconds. One of the Warframes on God tier has invincibility on command. Sure, you can have infinite shields. Sure, you can have double the amount of overshields, which is really good passive. But I mean, where's that gonna get you? When your second ability literally takes away all of your shields for a Gatling gun fire rate buff and a really good reload buff. I mean, granted, it's a good buff. He's a really good buff Warframe, but his reason he's only on Great and not on God is because he cannot survive. Which is, yeah, I'm running a decent amount of build. 10 seconds of invincibility, and that's it. That's it. So, that's all I'm going to say about him. I'll talk about him more in next video after all the other Warframes are done. Next episode is going to be freaking long. So, even longer than this one, probably. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it informative, and I hope you're enjoying this series, quote-unquote. And I hope you're excited for the next episode where I'm actually going to be talking about fairly good Warframes, like really good Warframes that do their job really well. And the video after that, which is going to be part 4, I might even make like 3 more parts. Make this a 5 or 6 part series, because there's a lot of Warframes, and I'm gonna. Once there's more Warframes every year, I'm probably going to come back, and all the new Warframes, I'll put them on the tiers. And if they get a rework, I'll reorganize them for the tier. But, yeah, that's that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and share if you did. And, I'll see you guys next time. Sayonara.